Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.
الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Welcome to Consider Islam. Live with Kenny Bomer, an affiliate and founder of the Consider This TV network. Any views, actions, or comments made by panelists during this broadcast do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of CTTV network hosts or affiliates. This channel and its affiliates do not claim any right over any of the graphics, images, or songs used in this video that are protected under copyright by other individuals or organizations. All rights are reserved to the respective copyright owners. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Non-profit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. The works on this channel are protected under the Digital Millennium Copyright Act, DMCA, of 1998, which amended the existing U.S. copyright law to address important parts of the relationship between copyright and the Internet. Now here is your host, Kenny Bomer.
Assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be upon everyone who's watching. My name is Kenny Bomer. This is Consider Islam Live with Kenny Bomer. And I do bear witness that there's no God other than Allah. And I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his final servant and the seal of all prophets. So we're going to have a discussion today, me and a brother. He's backstage. We're going to bring him on here in a moment. About a couple of things that are going on in social media, primarily. We're going to address some things that really need to be addressed. So I'm going to bring the brother on and allow him to introduce himself. Inshallah, brother, bear with me 1 second here as I try to navigate this. All right, we're going to be discussing the Armchair Quarterback syndrome. It's also coincides with what's called the tall poppy syndrome. I'm actually writing a book about this, book titled System of the Down, addressing the effects of the tall poppy syndrome. And I'm not going to get into that right now. We're going to primarily focus on the armchair quarterback syndrome, which is a part of the tall poppy syndrome. It's a very interesting subject to study and do research on. And so I've started writing that book already, and I'm a bit behind because I have another book that I'm trying to get published by late summer, early fall. So a bit behind. I've got a lot of stuff going on. I'm not feeling particularly well today, but I think this is an important enough issue that we should have a discussion about it. I do want to say assalamu alaikum to everyone in the UK watching through Coventry Faith Foundation, as well as on Facebook through Dawah TV, also on Consider Islam Live with Kenny Bomer, obviously, my channel. And I want to encourage everyone to subscribe to all the Consider This TV network channels. We are an affiliate, we're affiliated through the network, and we try to support one another in our endeavors and sharing the truth and the beauty of Islam. So I'm going to bring the brother on for a nice engagement. And so, brother, welcome to the panel. Assalamu alaikum to you, brother Fawad, also known
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Yeah,
Kenny, how are you doing?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Also known as AKA Dots Connected to Islam. His social media ID. And so, brother, introduce yourself if you would, and give us a brief explanation for why we're here today.
So I'm a Muslim. My name is Fawad. We were going back and forth on the comment section on one of your videos that you uploaded on your channel, your debate with David Wood which I was personally not impressed with at all. I think you did a very horrible job. You were ill prepared, and I pointed that out to you in the comments section. Um, we had a back and forth. We can read out the comments to give the viewers a little bit of the background story of who was actually rude to whom. And you kept being very condescending, which I did not appreciate, calling me son in a very sarcastic way, sideliner, shotgun, and in the entire comment section, you will not see me using any condescending terms at all. That's not how a Muslim should behave. It was a live public debate. So I am entitled as a Muslim. I don't have to be a scholar. I am entitled as a Muslim to call you out if you go to a debate ill-prepared when you're representing the ummah of 2 billion Muslims around the world.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, brother, for that, my beloved brother. So interesting that you mentioned that the number of Muslims around the world. I was there representing one person and one person only. I was there representing Kenny Bomer in my argument on the topic. And so before we proceed, brother, let me ask you a question just real quick before we proceed. Have you ever engaged in a live moderated debate?
That's not relevant to this topic at all that we're discussing. Not at all.
Actually, it is. Have you ever engaged in a live
I have.
moderated
No, not a moderated debate, but I have debated several times on Dawa. I have debated on several channels. Yeah. Okay, go ahead. Okay. Make your point.
So the question that I asked you was, have you ever engaged in a live moderated debate?
Live debate, yes. Moderated, not. I already answered that.
Okay, so live debate meaning you've done it online, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that's not a live moderated debate. A live moderated debate is whenever you're sitting in front of an audience, a live audience, and you're actually debating in a moderated debate. Okay, so you've answered that question. Okay, so are you familiar with what's called an armchair quarterback?
I'm not familiar with it, but I see what you're implying from that. Okay. However, that wouldn't apply to me.
Well, you're not familiar with it, so you're not sure that it wouldn't apply to you because you just said that you're not familiar with it. Do you remember saying that? I don't want to take anything you said out of context.
Just by reading what you actually said on there, any average Joe, he doesn't have to be an expert on syndromes to actually know what you're trying to imply. But make your point.
Okay, so do you know what an armchair quarterback is or not?
Did I not already say that I did not? Okay, but I know what you're implying from there.
I want to clarify that.
Yeah.
Right. Listen, brother. Yeah. I don't know why you're being so defensive.
I am being defensive because of look at the title that you're putting on there. I specifically mentioned to you it's a discussion between two Muslims. Okay,
right. Two Muslims.
You have been two Muslims.
Okay,
two Muslim brothers.
I'm a Muslim and you're a Muslim, and we're having a discussion about the topic of being an armchair quarterback. So you're not familiar with what that means. So I'm going to do you a favor, and for anyone else who's not familiar with this term, because it actually originated in the United States, and so I'll explain what an armchair quarterback is. I'm actually going to read a blog post, a very short blog post by a gentleman that I think is fitting because it kind of explains in good detail what an armchair quarterback is. So please be patient with me, and I'll be glad to bring you back on here in 1 second. So I'm just going to mute your mic just for a moment. So there's on a website titled Islam Daily page, there's a quote, and I'm not sure exactly who the quote is by because it doesn't specify, but it says, "Advise me in private freely, but do spare me of your advice in public, for the advice given in public is a form of rebuke that I do not like to hear." Okay. And so I do recall that in your post on my channel, as a matter of fact, you come to my channel and you said that I was not prepared for the debate with David Wood, while in fact I had 10 books stacked on the table beside me that I pointed out that I read in preparation for that debate. So I was indeed prepared. It might not be that you liked the direction that I went with the debate, but you wasn't engaging in the debate. I was. And so I found your comments on my channel to be quite offensive, and that's why we're here. So if I was defensive in responding to the very offensive comments that you made, in particular saying that I did not prepare for the debate, when in fact I spent about 4 or 5 weeks doing so ahead of time and did a lot of study and research on the topic. And I made the exact point that I intended to make. And I would make that exact same argument today, excluding the fact that during the debate, because of time allotment, there were some other points that are very strong points that I'm actually going to be bringing up in my second debate that's coming up in April, inshallah, with David Wood, that we were just discussing the day before yesterday, as a matter of fact, April 22nd, that I'll bring up those points that I did not get to address during the first debate. But what I did point out in the first debate, people can go back and they can listen to it, they can draw their own conclusions. I pointed out the fact that the debate amongst Muslims themselves, Muslim scholars themselves, about the age of Aisha radiallahu anha is up for debate. And so something isn't factual if in fact people are debating about it. And so that's the exact point that I intended to make with the debate. And that's the exact point that I did make. I said initially in my opening statement of that debate that I'm not here to debate the authenticity of hadith. I'm not here to reject any hadith or support any hadith. And I'm a Sunni Muslim. I believe in the hadith. Okay, but there's also what's called matan, right, which is the historical narrative that conflicts with the hadith where Aisha is recorded as saying that the marriage was consummated at the age of 9 years old. And so the 10 books that I read, each and every single one of those books by Muslim and non-Muslim scholars, all gave a different date, or not date, but a different age for her age at the period of consummation. And I didn't invent that. I simply pointed out in a court of what I consider a court of logic and reason, is the way I always mention when I approach debate. In this court of logic and reason, you can't convict someone of something if the evidence against them is conflicting. And so that's the point that I intended to make. And alhamdulillah, I believe that I did a good job at that. You don't have to agree, but there's people from that are David Wood's followers, or were, that have contacted me since then. There's atheists that have contacted me since then. There are Muslims that have contacted me since then, who are able to look at the evidence unbiasedly and understand the point that I was making, that I did make, that I would do again. I'm not saying that I could, maybe I could do it better another go around or whatever. I'm not saying I did everything perfect, but the point being is that the argument that I made is the exact argument that I intended to make. So let's explain what an armchair quarterback is. There's an article titled, "It's Real Easy to Be an Armchair Quarterback," written by a gentleman by the name of Mark A. Medley, who is a professional educator and radio talk show host. And this is an article that was published on January the 4th of 2015. And so inevitably, idiom that originated, as mentioned a moment ago, in the United States, and it refers to someone who doesn't participate in an action, but still makes judgments about it. And remember, I did ask you if you ever participated in a live moderated debate. So you haven't done that. So you don't know the pressures of what goes along with that, especially when you're dealing with someone like a David Wood, that is a person who has a large following, who is an absolute Islamophobe, but someone's got to step up to the front line and be willing to engage on these difficult topics. And alhamdulillah, may Allah accept my efforts and my intentions. But again, an armchair quarterback is an idiom that originated in the United States, and it refers to someone who doesn't participate in an action, but still makes judgments about it. The phrase, he says, takes its meaning from the fact that a quarterback is the player in the American sport of football, American football, obviously, who controls much of the game. An armchair quarterback is someone who offers his or her opinion on something without actually being a part of it. It's an idiom that has branched out from the sports world to encompass many other aspects of life. By example, what we're talking about today, my debate with David Wood. It's also interesting, he says to me, it's also interesting to me how folks who are not in the job of whatever the job may be, i.e. president, principal, pastor, CEO, governor, superintendent, head coach, et cetera, always have so much to say about how things are being done or was done. And he says, as an elementary school principal, I have to make decisions every day that impact students, staff, parents, and other stakeholders. And there are always, even among the mentioned ranks, those who feel that they were, if they were in my seat, they would have done X or Y. And he says, I'm using myself as an example since I am in a leadership role. However, the same types of judgments are cast towards anyone who's in a leadership role. And I'm not, by reading this, I'm not claiming that I'm in a leadership role. As I mentioned in the debate, I'm representing my argument in the debate. I didn't say that I was there speaking on behalf of all Muslims on the planet. So anyways, he goes on to say, I'm not naive, and I realize that it comes along with the leadership game, but it just came to me to put this down in a blog post just because. He says, if you're in a leadership role, you'll be able to relate to this post. I watch and listen to the pundits pontificate over what they would do if they were President Obama, by example. He says he should have done this or he should have done that, and on and on and on. It really does. He says it really does not matter what leadership role you're in. It happens to you. Always those who sit on the metaphorical armchair and he says, always those who sit on the metaphorical armchair and can do you better than you can do yourself. Yes, my friends, it's easy being an armchair quarterback because you're always talking and offering advice without risk to you. To share what you would have done or not done in any given situation really doesn't matter at all because it says it really doesn't matter at all because A, you are not the one in the situation, and B, however the results of the decision turns out, you are not the one being held accountable for them. Hence, it is really easy being an armchair quarterback or armchair president or armchair principal or armchair CEO or armchair pastor or armchair debater. I'll add that. He says, I heard this response one time from someone who have used it. He says, I've heard this response one time from someone and have used it myself since hearing it. And the dialogue goes like this. The armchair quarterback says, if I were you, I would have done this or I would have done that. And he says, no, if you were me, you'd have done the exact same thing I did because you were me. So think about it, he says, for a little bit, and you will get it. After some thought, I think you will get my point, he says. Leaders are constantly besieged by pundits who really may mean well, or perhaps have served in the particular position in the past, which you actually haven't in this instance, my beloved brother. But he says, but it's a different game for the person who's in the position now. So what may have worked then may or may not have worked now. May or may not work now. So he says, let's be very clear. Coaching and armchair quarterbacking are two different things. For example, many of our radio talk show hosts have made their careers by armchair quarterbacking the President of the United States, particularly President Obama in his blog post. He says the two that I'm thinking about, and I'm sure there are others, have had nothing to talk about on a daily basis for nearly 7 years now, other than President Barack Obama. Of course, this was written in 2015. He says they have become expert armchair quarterbacks, as neither would be able to do any better with the country than any other president has. But you wouldn't know that by listening to them. They would change the country, even the world. Everything would be well under their leadership. And it sounds to me, my respected brother, that you think that if you was engaging in a debate with David Wood on the subject that I debated with him on, that you would have done something better. But you haven't engaged in a debate with anyone thus far. And so I'm not sure that your thinking on the matter really applies. And so he goes on to say, I fly on Microsoft's flight simulator. This is an example that he uses. He says, I fly on Microsoft's flight simulator, but obviously a video game. And he says, I have a ball flying my jets all over the world. I know the instrument panel, the readings, the checklist, the jargon, et cetera, et cetera. He says, I can fly fighter jets, commercial aircraft, helicopters, private planes, and so on. The difference between my flying on flight simulators and flying the real thing is I can crash over and over and over again and no one gets hurt. No lives are lost. No equipment is damaged. No money is lost. armchair quarterbacking is very similar. There's nothing lost with what you would have done in my position because you're not the one actually in the pilot seat, just like you weren't there whenever I was engaging David Wood in this debate. He says armchair quarterbacking is like being in the simulator. In fact, it might even he says it might be even less because at least being in the simulator, you really do have to have some knowledge of what you're simulating. I'm not saying you don't have knowledge. I don't know what your knowledge is. It doesn't really matter in this instance because you're not actually using it in a live moderated debate like I did. Anyways, so it goes on to say, reread the definitions at the top of the post. Words such as no expertise or involvement and without actually being a part of it. And I believe both of those statements would apply to you in this instance regarding a live moderated debate with an individual by the name of David Wood that you criticized me openly on my channel about, saying that I was ill prepared, that I didn't come prepared, when in fact I mentioned in my opening statement once again, and those same books sit beside me on my desk, along with many others, books that I pointed out that I read 10 different books in preparation for that debate. So he concludes by saying, so if by chance you're a professional armchair quarterback or an amateur one, just know that it's really easy to be an armchair quarterback compared with actually being the quarterback. You can substitute any leadership position you would like into the quarterback role. In this instance, we'll substitute the armchair debater. And so he goes on to say, you can substitute any leadership position you would like into the quarterback role. It's easy to be an armchair quarterback. Something to critically think about. That's something to critically think about, he says. So yes, brother, my beloved brother, with all due respect, you came to my channel and you said in the comment section of my video that you do not believe that I came prepared for the debate, when in fact, as I had mentioned, I read 10 different books on the matter. I also consulted with other well-known Muslims on the subject. I can name some if you like, but it's not necessary. But nevertheless, I consulted others on the topic and got feedback from them about my position. And some disagreed, and most agreed with the position that I was taking. Okay, and they agreed with the position that I was taking because I came with facts about the matter. Okay, so you might want to go back and listen to the debate and listen to it with a little more clarity about what I actually argued, and you might find that the points that I said that I was setting out to make in my opening statement, I indeed did make, which is why we're going to have a second part of that debate. The debate's not over. Okay, so don't draw conclusions about my effectiveness in the debate when in fact there was already scheduled a part 2 of the debate. Okay, so we didn't have time to finish all the debate because we had multiple debates going on that weekend, and time just simply did not allow for it. So, my respected brother, I would encourage you that before you start passing judgment on another for engaging in something that you yourself are not engaging in, that you might want to do some pondering and reflecting on the wisdom behind making such judgment calls, because you did offend me. And if I responded to you in a manner in which, for one, I didn't use any foul language in responding to you. I don't know why you said that I was rude and offensive. I did call you son because I'm probably older than you. Okay, which may mean that I might be a little bit more wise than you are. I don't know. Maybe you're wiser than I am. Maybe you're more knowledgeable than I am. But the fact of the matter is, brother, my dear respected brother, that I'm the one on the front line, right? I'm the one on the front line in the battle while you're sitting over on the sideline. Okay, so if what you want to do, maybe you want to take my position in the second upcoming debate, and maybe you can do better. Or maybe we can organize a debate, between David Wood and yourself, or somebody else for that matter. And maybe I'll host it for you, make sure that everything is run fairly, because I want to make sure that you're able to prove who you claim that you are based on your very offensive comments that you made on my channel regarding the debate. So may truth be made clear from falsehood, and I'll give you a chance to respond very briefly because I'm a bit done listening to you, to be quite honest. But go ahead.
Of course, it's convenient when you don't, when you keep muting, when you invite somebody else to your show. Obviously, it's very convenient.
Wait a minute.
That's
Wait a
exactly.
minute. Hold on one second. So I put you on mute to make a point, right? Now I'm going to take you off of mute. I'm not putting you on and off mute and not interrupting you. I'm only interrupting you now because what you're saying now makes no sense. So already in the debate world, you're going down an avenue that it doesn't really have any true weight to it. So I'm going to take you off of mute. Go ahead. Okay. So I'm not going to interrupt you. But if I find you being offensive and I find you making mockery of me, then, you know, maybe something else will have to happen from there. But the point of the matter is that you came to my channel and made the point, made the statement. I find it very offensive. Made the statement simply because you don't agree with the direction I went in the debate, which was to demonstrate and prove that the dates don't line up. Okay, I didn't say that. All these books said it, and all these different scholars and these Muslims who have been debating the topic for decades, they said that, and I just brought that point out during the debate. Okay, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to speak, but I want to make it clear what I was offended by. The fact that you said that I was not prepared for the debate, when in fact I read 10 different books that were stacked up beside me for that debate. I was prepared for that debate. If you listen to my opening statement, you see, just go back and listen to it. Listen to the entire debate and tell me that I wasn't prepared for the debate. You're saying that because you don't agree with the direction that I went. You don't agree with the direction that I went because you want to defend the idea that Aisha radiallahu anha was 9 years old when the marriage was consummated. And I'm not going to give up well, that's the original point that you made. That's the original point that you made. Okay. So go ahead. Go ahead. Speak freely.
So, brother, first, when you actually host somebody and you actually mute their mic and you're speaking for almost 15 minutes straight, it is very cordial of me to actually not unmute myself and interrupt you while you're speaking, okay? These are called adab in Islam. I'm pretty sure you're aware of it. Okay. Now, coming to a few points that I would like to address, what you said. So I would really like people to actually go to this particular debate and read the comment section. Okay, I took print screenshots just in case if somebody actually happens to delete them. So I have, and people can read and judge for themselves who was cordial and who was actually rude to the people. It is a live public debate. It is a polemic issue about Islam. You are not representing Kenny Bomer, okay? You're representing Islam because Aisha, peace be upon her, Muhammad, peace be upon him, they are our, the closest people, closer to us than our wives and our parents, okay? So if you're going to go to the battlefield ill-prepared, and nowhere in my comments, by the way, you keep repeating there's this syndrome or whatever fancy term that you came up with in the United States or Houston, wherever the heck you are from. I actually never claimed that I could do a better job at the debate. What I said was you came ill-prepared, and it was apparent from the way you were responding. And people, as I said, people can go watch and judge for themselves who actually did a good job, okay? Second point you mentioned, you said you were there was a limited time. There was a limited time for both of you. That's what a debate is, okay? It was the same amount of time for him that it was for you. Third, when you actually go to a debate, there are three crucial points in a debate, okay? You have to do the research. You can read 20 million books on the matter, but if you cannot show it in the moment, people can't scan your mind. The audience sitting over there, they cannot scan your mind, okay? You kept repeating again and again in the debate, I have these books, I have these books. You have to extract the research from that book and present it in your slideshow or your argument. Else, people are lazy. They're not going to, these are Islamophobes, okay? Their entire career is based on lying and showing Islam wrong, okay? They're going to lie through their teeth. He quoted a hadith after a hadith after a hadith. You did not quote a single hadith, okay? Second point, he actually quoted Ibn Kathir, all classical scholars. What scholars did you quote? All contemporary scholars, okay? Third point, you said that and by the way, when you're actually going for a debate, yes, it is extremely important that you walk up to people that have done such debates and you actually watch their debates. You ask them, hey, am I the right person to walk up to this Islamophobe and actually do debate on this topic? Daniel Hakikachu, Muhammad Hijab, all of these guys, they've been doing excellent job refuting all of these Islamophobic claims. You, brother, with all due respect, are not one of those. You are a person that actually allies with people like Shabir Ali, who is a heretic,
Okay, I'm not. What I'm not going to let you do is I'm not going to allow you to abuse a brother, Dr. Shabir Ali, who's not here to defend himself. He does far more than you will ever do in this life. He has done far more than you will ever do in this life. And you're giving a prime example of what an armchair quarterback is. Okay, so I want you to take note of what this brother says here on the screen here. What do you see here? What do you see here from Brother Mustafa? Brother Kenny is right. The age of Aisha is uncertain. Alhamdulillah, somebody understands the point. What does the next brother say? We have seen Kenny debate many times. He's always very well prepared. Alhamdulillah, praise be to Allah. Okay, so apparently there's people out there who see things differently than you. Okay, and again, you're proving exactly what an armchair quarterback is because you're judging something that you've never yourself done. You've never done it yourself. Okay, so you don't know what goes along with it. I mentioned the time issue because there's another whole other element to the argument that I intend to make, that time did not allow that to happen. Okay, so which I anticipated. The other thing is to point out is there's a certain group of Christians that I accidentally, unwisely revealed my argument in my discussions with them. I revealed my argument about the issue, and they notified David Wood. I have the emails to prove it. They notified David Wood about what my argument was going to be ahead of time. Okay, so that's why it presented. He appeared to have been prepared for the argument that I was going to make. Okay, and so alhamdulillah, that's fine. He has no clue the argument that I intend to make on this next go around. And so I'm going to keep it at that, and I could bring it up now, but the same thing would apply. There's a lot of spies out there that are looking for an opportunity to, try to undermine Islam and undermine the efforts of those who are actually on the front lines doing the work. Brother, you're not on the front line doing the work. You're on the sideline bumping lip in your armchair, right? I mean, that's what it amounts to. And if you don't like me saying that, well, it's why? Because that's the reality. You're not doing it. You're not the one on the front line. You're not the one putting your name on the line. And if you want to say that I'm there representing Islam, alhamdulillah, I'm doing the best that I can. And you can be assured that on the day of judgment, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows my efforts and my intentions. He knows the time that I spent preparing for that debate. And that's the primary thing that I'm aggravated with you about. You claiming that I wasn't prepared because you don't like the argument that I gave. But Allah knows all the effort and time that I put into it. Allah knows the people that I sought out for advice beforehand, and all the pondering and reflecting and the thinking and the late nights staying, being awake, wide awake, pondering and thinking about that debate. And you're claiming that I went into that debate unprepared? Sit your behind back down on the bench, because that's where you belong. Whenever you want to step into the game, and you think that you could do even half of what I've done, and my goodness, I can't believe that you would even bring up Dr. Shabir Ali because you disagree with some points that he's made. Let me clarify something for you. I don't agree with everything that Dr. Shabir says. Matter of fact, I don't agree with everything that any man on this planet says. Okay? And I say man on this planet, I agree with what the prophets and the messengers, peace be upon them all, said when they were here. Of course, we don't have record of all of that. Okay, but I believe what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. But as far as human beings walking this planet, doing the best that they can to address the truth and the beauty of Islam and to fight against Islamophobia, I don't agree with everything that any human being says. I don't agree with everything Daniel says, or brother or Muhammad Hijab, or anyone else, and that's not I mean no offense to them. I don't agree with everything that brother Dr. Shabir Ali says, but I happen to believe that Dr. Shabir, because of his polite demeanor and his the time and effort that he's put into it, and the fact that he's been doing this for decades, he's done far more than any of those brothers have done combined. Praise be to Allah. May Allah bless him and give him the highest levels of paradise. But yet while he's not sitting here, you want to badmouth the brother that's not here to defend himself when you haven't done a tenth of what he's done. You haven't done a tenth of what he's done. You haven't done a tenth of what I've done. So you sit yourself right over there on the sideline where you belong. And when you want to step up and play the game, son, then you step up and play the game and you give it your best shot. And I promise you that I'll be rooting for you. I'll be saying prayers for you. I'll be encouraging you, because running your mouth like you're doing, you know what that does, brother? That's the whisperings of the shaitan that are trying to stop the progress of the propagation of the truth and the beauty of Islam. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Convey from me even if it's one verse. Convey from me even if it's one verse." He didn't say you have to be an expert. He didn't say you have to be a scholar. He didn't say you have to be an imam. He said to convey from me, even if it's one verse, La ilaha illallah. If that's all you know, then convey that. That's the dawah. Okay, so what I'm doing for the sake of Allah. I'm not doing it to please you. I'm not doing it to please any other human being on this planet. I do it for my status on the day of judgment, Allahu Akbar, and nothing more. Not for you. And so I don't need your agreement about the argument that I present, and nor do I need you coming to my channel and trying to badmouth me and trying to undermine me, because this is the effects of the tall poppy syndrome. When you're trying to cut down those that are rising above you because you're sitting on the sideline, you're sitting down on the sideline. You're sitting down on the front line. I'm standing on the front line fighting the battle. You're not even standing up in the battle. Allahu Akbar. As truth is made clear from falsehood. Let this be a lesson to you and anyone else out there who's trying to. I can't believe you would even bring Dr. Shabir Ali's name up. Shame on you for bringing Dr. Shabir's name up, man.
Shame on me for bringing up a heretic.
You're disqualified from talking at this point. Go on about your business. Get back on the sideline. Get back in your armchair. My goodness gracious, you bring up Dr. Shabir. I'm more offended by the fact that you bring up this brother, beautiful, beloved brother that does the best that he possibly can. He argues based on the study that he's done. You're going to say that he doesn't study as well? That he doesn't come prepared for his debates? He's had dozens upon dozens of debates. You're going to bring up this brother's name in a discussion with me? I'm more offended about that, because it shows your character. It shows where your mind is at. You're sitting over there doing absolutely nothing and criticizing not only myself. I can deal with that, but you're criticizing Dr. Shabir? My goodness gracious. As I mentioned, I don't agree with everything that any human being says. I've actually, and you know what I've done? Allah knows it to be the truth. Dr. Shabir and I have a very good relationship, and I've got his number in my phone, and I can call him at any time. And I have called him. And the points that I disagree with the brother on, I've called him. The brother, I said, brother, I know you believe such and such. Do you mind if we talk about that? Because I want to know what your thinking is behind it, and show him the utmost respect and let him know that I don't necessarily agree with it, but I totally understand why you're saying what you're saying. I totally understand it, and I respect it, and I've defended the brother many, many times from people just like this brother who sits on the sidelines doing nothing and criticizing other people. My goodness, man. Don't you realize that's exactly what the shaitan wants? That's what the Iblis, the devil himself, wants you to undermine, to attack other Muslims in order to discourage them from doing the work that they're doing while you're not doing anything. Okay? You look for the opportunity. He was so eager to come on the show today because I guess wants to get in the limelight or whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't do that for this, man. Right? Matter of fact, I've stopped doing streams because I want to make my intentions pure, that I do what I do for the sake of Allah and not for subscribers, not for views. We need subscribers and we need viewers in order to do what we're doing. But the fact of the matter is that that's not my purpose behind it. My purpose behind it is my status on the day of judgment. And if I make a mistake, right, I believe the mercy of Allah extends far greater than our capacity to comprehend and understand it. And that Allah knows the sincere intention that a person has, and is not going to judge someone harshly because they made a mistake, or maybe their thinking was wrong, or they misrepresented something by a slip of the tongue, or whatever. Allah is merciful, and so He judged the intentions of the heart. What is the intentions of your heart, Brother Fawad? dots connected to Islam? What is your intentions? You're bringing up Dr. Shabir? Man, come on, man. Shame on you. Ask Allah for forgiveness for that. How dare you try to undermine this brother when he's not even here? So you take this as a lesson, a life lesson, okay? Take this as a life lesson. Anyone listening, I'll apply it to myself as well. Don't belittle your brothers because you don't agree with something that they said or because you think you could do it better. If you think you could do it better, man, by all means, jump up to the plate and do it. Get on the field and do it. Get on the front line and do it. Set up a debate and do it, man. Otherwise, you're just bumping your lips. Period. Period. Now he's calling Dr. Shabir in the private chat, not the private chat, but in the chat, calling Dr. Shabir a heretic because you don't agree with something that he said on a particular topic. But it could be that very one that you're criticizing is closer to Allah than you are. He's a better Muslim than you are. Right? But you're criticizing him, you're calling him a heretic. Really? You're calling Dr. Shabir a heretic. That says a lot about your character. So you have exposed yourself today, okay? You come to my channel trying to humiliate me, I guess, or trying to undermine my efforts, or trying to present yourself as though you could have done better, but you're not doing anything. And then while you're here, you insult a brother who has had dozens of debates, who has been very effective in his dawah efforts in engaging Christians and so forth, and atheists, primarily a lot of Christians, has great dialogue with Christians. And because you disagree with something that he said on a particular topic or two, you're calling him a heretic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to suggest that every channel associated with the Consider This TV network bans you because we don't need your negativity here. We need brothers that are going to be supportive of one another, brothers and sisters for that matter. No offense to the sisters, brothers and sisters that are going to be supportive of one another, that are going to encourage one another. That's why Allah says to compete with one another as if in a race, doing good, righteous deeds. Right? Part of those good, righteous deeds is debating the most adamant adversaries of Islam. Right? And so compete with one another as if in a race, doing good, righteous deeds. Brother, are you doing good, righteous deeds by trying to undermine me and trying to humiliate me, and also bad-mouthing Dr. Shabir when he's not even here? Is that a good, righteous deed? No, you're going to owe the brother on the day of judgment. And as the brother Mustafa said, I've learned plenty from Shabir and Nizam. I have too. Matter of fact, I'll take knowledge from wherever I can get it, and I'll verify it. And if I think it's consistent with what I do know, and through my intellect and my reasoning and my thoughts and so forth, and I feel like it's consistent, then I accept it. And if it's something that's I feel that's contrary or I don't necessarily agree with, I'll listen to what they say, and I'll respectfully either keep my mouth shut, or like I've done with Dr. Shabir, contact Dr. Shabir and say, brother, can we talk about these particular points? We had beautiful discussion, probably about 2.5 hours, about one very important point that I'm not even going to bring up. It's between me and the brother, but we spoke for about 2.5 hours. Him taking his time, explaining his thinking behind it, me responding, asking him questions, and and letting him know that I don't necessarily agree with that, but I completely and entirely understand why he's saying what he says on the matter, right? And so if you have a disagreement with someone, or you don't agree with something they said, do you feel like you are the Muslim police? For what? Are you the Muslim police? That it's your job to come along and point out everyone's crimes? Man, who are you? I mean, who are you, man? I mean, really, who are you? You're not the Muslim police, okay? And so I encourage you that if you hear someone say something you disagree with them, go and ask them why they said what they said, right? And if you have a different belief, then voice your concern with them. Have an open discussion. If that's why I read the original quote that I come across, and again, I'm not sure who said it because it doesn't specify. But what does it say again? It says, "Advise me in private freely. Advise me in private freely. But do spare me of your advice in public, for the advice given in public is a form of rebuke I do not like to hear," because it is rebuke, right? It's something that's trying to you're undermining someone else's efforts, while again you're just sitting over there on the armchair, you're sitting over there on the sideline, and you're not even in the game. Get your behind in the game, and then show and prove. Don't just talk about it, be about it, right? That's my motto. Don't talk about it, be about it, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to get this brother on out of here, right? So we're going to get him on out of here. And I encourage everyone out there, please forgive me if I've gotten a little animated and I've got a little bit, for one, I don't feel very good today. So that's part of it, but alhamdulillah, I should be still be a little more patient in dealing with it. But nevertheless, these things are these are constant. Like we had someone trying to judge brother Muhammad with Coventry Faith Foundation in yesterday's stream or the one before, I can't remember. And it's just unnecessary, man. The whole point of the Consider This TV network in particular is to do just that, to network with one another, right? To come together with other Muslims and of all races and places and different colored faces, and encourage one another to do exactly what Allah says, to compete with one another as if in a race doing good righteous deeds. It's not meant to imply that you get ahead in the race and you leave them behind and just trash them. They're nobodies, they're nothing, and just undermine and belittle them. No, the whole purpose of the race is to encourage everyone to strive harder. We're all going for the same goal, right? Encourage one another. Where are those words of encouragement? So may Allah bless everyone out there who is saying anything that's good. May Allah bless you and protect you and your families and elevate your status on the day of judgment, just simply for being supportive of your Muslim brothers and sisters, for that matter, who are actually out doing something. It's all of our obligation to share the truth and the beauty of Islam to the best of our ability. We're not going to all be perfect. Do you think? I mean, for one, I've never claimed to be perfect. I've never claimed to be the best debater in the world, but I knew that, for whatever reason, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala seen fit to nothing. If you believe in the qadr of Allah, nothing happens but by Allah's will. And so if it was not meant for me to be engaged in a debate with David Wood, I wouldn't have been there, right? I would not have been there. Did I say anything contrary to Islam? Did I say anything that was anti-Islam? Of course not. No, I was there to defend Islam. Hey, some people's sword is bigger than another. Some people got a tomahawk missile or whatever. I don't know. Some people come with nothing but their fist. Some people have nothing but their mouth. But nevertheless, we're in the battle, while those on the sideline are over there bumping lip, saying absolutely nothing, because what they're saying is just criticism that amounts to absolutely nada. And in Spanish, that means absolutely nothing. Absolutely nada. So, again, I do apologize if I've gotten a little animated and defensive on the matter. But it is what it is. These people are out there, and it's part of what's called the tall poppy syndrome. And he said, I'm using these big words, armchair quarterback and the tall poppy syndrome. Not everyone knows what the tall poppy syndrome is, but nevertheless, it's these people are there, and they exist. And whether it be because they feel envious or they feel jealous, there are a certain group of people, because they're born Muslims or born into Muslim families, that they don't think that reverts or reverts have a right uh, to say anything, I guess, or what they say don't count. There's literally people like that. But what does Allah say? I don't know, I'm not going to get into it. Nevertheless, there's people out there who for whatever reason see fit to criticize other people, and the people that they're criticizing are doing far more than they have ever done. And I'm not saying that I'm any better than anyone else. I'm not saying I'm the best debater in the world. I'm not saying I'm the most eloquent or the most handsome or whatever. I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that what I do for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and that's it. Alhamdulillah. So, what I will do, Allahu Akbar. What I will do, if there's anyone out there that would like to join me on the panel, briefly give your thoughts on the matter, I'm going to post the link in the chat, and feel free to come on. And yeah, alhamdulillah. I'm sorry to get worked up about this, but it's an ongoing. It's my goodness. Allahu Akbar. Meanwhile, there's people in the world that are struggling with far more serious matters and issues in life. People in Turkey, people in Palestine, and so forth. This is just a nonsensical issue when it boils down to it. So may Allah have mercy on us all. And everything in this life is a test. Islam is certainly the answer for it. And so may Allah forgive us for listening to the whisperings of the shaitan. May He protect us from the whisperings of the shaitan, who are there to lead us astray and try to discourage us in various ways. And we have Brother Friendly Muslim backstage. I'm going to bring him on. Also, Brother Mustafa. Assalamu alaikum, brothers. How are you?
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, brother.
Yeah,
Wa alaikum salam.
With that, brother, because I actually know Brother Fawad, and he's come on stream with us. I mean, recently, within the last 6 weeks, he's been coming on stream and having discussions. So that's where I know the brother from also. And I also know you. And I know you from when you actually had the debate, and after the debate, that's when I first came across you, brother, and obviously Brother Mohammed from CovFF. One, just jog my memory, that debate that you had with David Wood was the first time you had a live debate. Am I correct in saying that? Was that
it was my second live debate. The first
debate,
that
was it.
I had two debates within the same day. The first debate was with a very well-known atheist. Matter of fact, the first debate was the first debate of the conference. That's a lot of pressure, man. And
I remember, brother,
with an atheist by the name of Tom Jump, who's very well known. Tom
Jump,
T-Jump, very good debate. Yeah, T-Jump, very good debater. And that was the first debate. And then later on in the debate, the debate with David Wood and myself was the feature debate of the weekend. And this is
I remember, and I want to bring that up, brother, and forgive me for over talking, because I remember us talking at the time, and I was like, well, in your first live debate now, you the first one was an atheist, and then David Wood. So for you to step up like that was on your first debate forum, and doing so was a big deal. And so that there was that part of it. The other part was obviously you did to say you were ill prepared. He may have his opinion on that, but I remember speaking to you afterwards and saying, brother, what was the actual books that you read, and you'd gone through how much you had done in the build up to it, and also that what you said about you had spoken to the Christians at the time, and they had leaked out certain information. So again, I want to confirm these things that you're saying. And then afterwards, yes, you did have a second debate coming up within a few months. I think it was within 60 days or so. There was due another debate because there was a time was a factor also. So there was that. So I mean, I'm also because I remember I was speaking at the time. So these are truths and they're online because we had these conversations on your channel. And again, afterwards, we talked, and I also then remember emailing you information also, and you were very open to that also. And you also said at the time that your main purpose was to make people aware that there were a difference of opinion with dates, etc. And we talked about it. And again, I spoke to you. We talked. We talked privately also about things, and we were in contact, privately, and sent you information. So again, with these sort of situations, I think everything sort of needs to be looked at as a whole, and again how it's dealt with. Because yes, fine, criticism could be there, but then as Muslims or seeing another Muslim, then yes, maybe we should inquire also. So at the time, I remember calling into your show, speaking to you, inquiring, and then offering support. And that's what I did. So I hope that sort of brings light to it and also confirms. And again, Brother Kenny does a lot of charity work. More than people actually know. That he's done. Building water wells. And so he does a lot of work. So again, I don't like the conversation took place in terms of there was a level of anger there at times, and again, if I get a chance to speak to Brother Fawad, I will do. Um, but yeah, I mean, those are the points I wanted to come up with, basically to confirm the things you were saying, because at the time, and again, they are online. These are true facts that you were saying. There was a second debate lined up. That was your first live debate scenario that weekend. And you were open to feedback. And you could see where certain things you could have done differently. And again, you information I was sending you, and we touched on it, and you still may have those bits of
I do.
information for your next debate. Alhamdulillah, that's it. So that's my 2 cents on it. For Brother Fawad, obviously, if I get a chance to speak, I don't believe it's in the best interest to bring in other da'is in the conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and the part that I disagree with, that you went up, and again, the brother also brought up people like Muhammad Hijab and all that. They've also not had good debates, also, or good conversations that didn't go well at times, also. And again, you went up, you represented yourself, your arguments, and therefore everyone will have a difference of opinion on anything that we all do. I'm criticized for being too friendly, or we all have different criticisms at all points. So again, when you go up, you went up, and you represented your argument. And again, the main point of your argument at that point was to show that there was a difference of opinion, which was not well known, perhaps as much at that time also. So yeah, I'll concede there to Brother
Alhamdulillah,
Muhammad.
brother, I
I
appreciate
just,
that, and I do have the information, the emails that you sent, and I did use some of that information, and intend to use it again in the future, inshallah. But it's the whole argument. The reason I read the 10 books is because uh, in doing the research for it, you have to start at ground one and just look at it from clear your mind and look at it objectively and not put any bias in it, and not go with what someone else says because it's simply the popular argument to run with. I wanted to look at it clearly and freely, independently of my own, and say, what does logic tell me when I look at this information? Because inevitably, we're all judged on what we know and what we've studied, and what we've researched, and who have we sought out for information, and how do we apply it, and so forth. But the fact of the matter is, I didn't create the issue that I argued, meaning the conflicting dates are dates that are debated amongst Muslim scholars themselves, and they have been for decades at this point. And again, as I mentioned earlier, something is not a fact if it's debatable. If there'd be no reason for debate, if in fact what is being debated is a fact. There's nothing, you can't debate a fact, but you can debate something that is up for interpretation or up for quote, up for debate. So, brother, thank you for your positive comments, and may Allah bless you. And I do appreciate that. And the brother,
I want to be fair to the situation because I know both brothers. Like I've known you for a while. I've just met brother Forward. So even asked you if I disagree with someone, I'll make it known. But then I want to be fair to the situation. And factually, everything that I've said is what's transpired with you and the comments you made. And I don't think people gave you enough credit for the fact that this was the first weekend where you had two major debates with a well-known atheist and obviously David Wood also.
Yes, I had to prepare for two debates in the same weekend. But the other aspect of it is that I knew the position that I was taking was gonna be an unpopular one. But I was courageous enough because I believed that it's important that we as individuals that we look at the information and we don't just go with popular, the popular belief, okay, and that we look at things objectively for ourselves and say, what does my mind tell me here when I look at this? But in the process, consider all the information that you can, gather all the information that you can, and then draw your conclusion. Allah's not going to hold us at fault if we're using our own intellect and we're drawing a conclusion based on the evidence that's presented before us. That's why when I go into these debates, I always, brother, you've heard me say it before, I approach debate as if we're walking into a courtroom of what? Of logic and reason. And logic and reason dictates that you have to look at all the evidence that's presented and then draw your conclusion. And when the evidence is conflicting, it leads me to this day, I'll say, I don't know what the age of Aisha radiallahu anha was because the evidence is contradictory. The Matan hadith conflict with the other, and I don't want to make this a debate today on this show, but the point being is people can do the research for themselves and they'll find that the position that I took is one that is unpopular, but it's one that exists nonetheless, and I didn't invent it.
And this is Assalamu alaikum, brothers, to everyone, and Assalamu alaikum to our brother from Coventry as well, who we've spoken to previously on Brother Muhammad's channel. So greetings to the Riva brother and to a friendly Muslim. Just in fact, absolutely correct. Just to reiterate the point of Brother Kenny. See, if we have an analysis of this particular understanding of the age of Aisha radiallahu anh. Now, when we have discussions with Christians, we like to promote certain ideas, such as the New Testament doesn't teach that, for example, Jesus is God in the ontological sense. Then we'll go into extreme depth to prove those points. Similarly, when we're looking at the aspect of the age of Aisha radiallahu anh, and the post that I put up a short while ago, which Brother Muhammad put on, the age is uncertain due to what Brother Kenny has mentioned, the vast, ubiquitous, varying reports we have on the age. There is no certainty. That's what it all boils down to. There's a recent YouTube video people can watch by a scholar by the name of Joshua Little, which I've posted the link on the chat a short while ago, in which he goes into a 2-hour depth, and he's on the dissertation on this particular topic, looking at all the various strands and avenues in relation to this, and then one can evaluate that and make one's own conclusion. So, it's like this Dawa police out there, which is, trying to put down brothers essentially for the purpose of causing, or for people to follow their brand of thinking to an extreme length. And you cannot even have a divergent view based upon the evidence which is presented. So that is all that Brother Kenny did, and like you said, it's unfortunate, and just Brother Kenny's efforts are there for all to see. And we must also be aware that I would advise Brother Kenny as well, brother, you're always going to get people who are going to have conflicting views, and we must be very careful that, particularly with non-Muslims watching. I know there's a sister called Hindsight who is from the US. She's watching our channels quite strong, and she made an excellent point that this could have really been handled in privacy, because the whole objective of these excellent stations, supplemented by Consider This TV, is to promote Islam to the masses. and for them to view that they're having these issues, it just causes some sort of uncertainty within them. So even though you're fully justified in bringing up such a stream to correct the brother who has made these somewhat wild allegations, but sometimes it could be deemed as a source of entertainment for non-Muslims, in which they are observing that the Muslims are having a conflict with each other, so they rub their hands with glee and just take a popcorn out and enjoy the entertainment. But this is very, very important. So you just carry on with your work, brother Kenny, and Allah will bless you for that, brother. Your intentions are sincere, and you're doing your job correctly. You're standing up where few others have. Brother Shabir, who is now, who took this dawah to a new level. He went over and beyond the dawah of Ahmed Didat and Shabir and Zakir Naik, when they have, particularly when he's had discussion with Christian academics and the people who are top in their field. And so he took it to a new level. Now, people have got different views on Shabir's stance in regards to certain issues now, but to call him a heretic and, to speak ill behind his back is a terrible indictment of an individual to say such a thing. To accuse someone of being a heretic is not a small matter. So we need to be very careful on this matter, and the fact that people are watching, particularly non-Muslims. So we must be very careful and observant of this, inshallah.
Yeah, brother, I do agree with that. And I did weigh the that versus it being a learning experience for all of us, in that we should be supporting one another. We should not be looking for opportunities to unnecessarily undermine or humiliate someone else, especially when you're not doing what that person is doing. And I'm not saying that I'm anything special, but when you have someone who is just really, it's unnecessary. If you disagree, as I mentioned, that I hate to even bring up Dr. Shabir again, but the fact that I love and respect this brother. I think he's the best Muslim debater out there because of his demeanor, his knowledge. He's polite. That doesn't mean that I agree with everything that he says, and nor is he going to agree with everything that I say. But the point being is that the issues that I disagreed with him about, as I mentioned before, I call the brother and respectfully have a discussion with him in private, and we talk about it, and I understand, and therefore that's why I'm so adamant about defending him today. So I look at it, I consider, and I thought, and I pray to Allah to guide me in that, let it be a learning experience for all of us, inshallah, and that, we should be supporting one another and encouraging one another. If we make mistakes along the way, address it. If I said something that was inaccurate, let me know privately. That way I can go and correct myself publicly, or whatever. We don't have to look for the opportunity to put spotlight on ourselves by pointing out someone else's error, their flaw, their mistake. And in the world of social media, where everyone's trying to get eyes on themselves, that's exactly what happens today. This brother criticizing that one, making a video about this brother, that one brother's making a video about that one, another one's making a video about all of them. It's like, come on, man. There's better things to be doing in this world. We should be encouraging and supporting one another. And if there's some areas where we differ, either agree to disagree, or remain silent on the matter, or talk to the brother and find out what his thinking is behind it. And you might actually learn something that you was not aware of in the process. And so, alhamdulillah, may Allah have mercy on each and every one of us and help us to use more wisdom and patience in dealing with these types of issues. Brother Omar, assalamu alaikum, brother. Feel free to speak. Yeah, alhamdulillah. Welcome to the panel. There you go.
Just trying to get the mute off.
Yeah, I think your mic is off.
Alhamdulillah, you handled that really well, mashallah. Is it? Shouldn't be.
No, I'm saying, I meant to say that you're
you hear me?
the mute is off. So yeah, we can hear you. Assalamu alaikum to you.
All right, mashallah. Well, okay, you handled that considerably very well for being a reaper like myself. It's very easy to lose one's patience with other people. But over the 35 years that I've been a Muslim, I've always pushed hang on to the basics.
Mm-hmm.
Hang on to the basics every day. Just do everything basic. Because if you, like some people, they can get all of the books and they can read them. They cannot make judgment. Even the scholars of past and present have differences.
Mm-hmm.
And as Muslims, we should be by now in the 14th century. Is it 14th century or 15th century? We should be able to work with one another.
Mm-hmm.
To, as you said, support one another. Just because a person doesn't agree on the deal of this or the deal of that, or because that person's white or that person's sky blue pink with yellow spots on their head, shouldn't make any difference whatsoever. Should never condemn another Muslim. These are just the basic things. But I see it quite a lot, which is sad. It's heartache when I see brothers arguing over pettiness, And as we were told, hang on by your molar teeth. Muhammad didn't say that. Isa Islam didn't say that. No other prophet before. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that. And we forget. Sadly, we forget these things to remind one another the basics every day. But mashallah, you really hung on really well there. Really did, mashallah, the Kenny.
Thank you, brother. May Allah accept it.
It takes a lot. It takes a lot. May Allah give you more blessings and gift you with more patience, inshallah, and guide you and your family, and all my brothers and sisters, inshallah. May we all, inshallah, be amongst the first ones to go through the gates of paradise. Ameen.
Ameen, brother. Thank you for your support and your encouragement. And you made a point that is very, very, very important. And this is, matter of fact, I told the same brother that came on. I told him, was it him that told this? I've had so many discussions today. No, had a discussion with a brother that was who's an ex-Muslim, and he's supposed to be pretty learned and so forth. And we're going to have a discussion on Sunday, inshallah, just a private discussion. I want to talk to him about what his concerns are and why he chose to leave Islam and so forth. I won't mention his name, but he started mentioning where he studied and asked me where I've studied. I told him this and that and so forth. I said, but brother, in the discussion, let's begin with what you mentioned, brother Omar. Let's begin with the basics. Let's start with the basics and build from there. Because even Allah says in the Quran, do not go to extremes in your religion. And so a lot of times people are taking things to extremes in because they believed a certain way for so long, and if you say something contrary, it goes against the fiber of what they've believed, and so they want to lash out and they start calling other Muslims heretics and so forth, which is a grave sin. As a matter of fact, you should not do that. But if we stick to the basics, the basics are where the foundation of Islam lies, in that we all believe in the oneness of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ is the final servant and messenger of Allah. We believe on all the previous prophets and the messengers. We establish the prayer. We give in zakat. All the things that are the foundation of Islam. That's the basics that are the most important elements of it all. And if we stick to that, then we have a brotherhood on the basics, with the basics. But what happens is people start thinking they're smarter than someone else, or they could do something better than another, or that guy, I don't like the way he looks or the color of his skin. And unfortunately, even in Islam is supposed to be a non-discriminating religion, but even in Islam, these elements do exist, because human beings are fallible, and the whispering of the shaitan is constant and trying to mislead and cause problems constantly. And so if we're not on the lookout for that, and if we're not mindful of let me stick to the basics, man. Let me go to my 5 prayers within the day. Let me follow the example of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Let me worship Allah in all things, in good times and bad. Let me focus on the fact that this life is short, and I'm not going to live forever. I don't know what the next moment brings. May Allah have mercy on us all. Focus on those things and supporting your brother, helping your brother, encouraging your brother to keep striving and doing what he's doing. And if he makes a mistake along the way, contact him privately and address it privately. But sometimes what you might think is a mistake is simply based on your ignorance on the matter. You might touch base with the brother and have a new way of thinking about the issue, as I've done with Dr. Shabir on a couple of points that I don't necessarily, as I mentioned, I don't necessarily agree with them about, but I respect the brother and I completely understand and would never in a million years criticize the brother because he sees something from a different perspective that I fully comprehend and understand. And it could, and the fact of the matter is, could be his position on these issues could be, which is why, how dare, it'd be absolutely an injustice, a grave injustice, and an oppression against the brother if I was to pass judgment on him, especially in front of other people in social media and so forth, going all over the world and start criticizing the brother and calling him a heretic. Because of a position that he holds on a particular topic. My goodness, that's an injustice. That's a grave injustice. Why not listen to what the brother has to say? Try to comprehend it. Address your concerns with him privately and move on from there. When we go into these debates, right? Dr. Shabir's had dozens more debates than I have, obviously. And but the fact of the matter is that we're not there. No individual, let's clarify this. No individual is there representing quote unquote Islam. What we're doing is we're representing ourselves as Muslims who follow and believe in Islam. We're not there as represent. I don't represent Islam because by all means, if I make a mistake and I say something that's wrong, I don't want someone to perceive that I'm authority. I've never claimed to be an authority on Islam. Dr. Shabir has never claimed to be an authority on Islam. There are no authorities on Islam except for Allah and his prophets and his messengers, his prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. That's it. That's where it lies. We're not authorities, and no one's claimed to be an authority. When I speak in a public debate, what do we say? Dr. Shabir says the same thing. If any mistakes that I made, may Allah forgive me. I'm here to give my understanding about what it is that we're discussing and nothing more. I'm not here speaking for Brother Omar, Brother Mustafa, Brother Friendly Muslim, or Brother Muhammad, or Brother Jamal, or I'm there representing myself as a Muslim with my understanding about what it is that we're discussing. I'm not there to represent 2.8 billion Muslims in the world. I mean, my goodness, I'm there to do my best and so forth. And surely we understand that. When a person steps on the floor and they're a member of a sports team, that person is not there as a representative of all the, I mean, what's a good analogy for this? So the individual is just a member of the team. And he's doing his best to play his role in the whole overall process of the game. But he can't go and say, I'm here and I'm representing the team. And otherwise, you'd be saying, we don't even need the rest of the team because I'm here. Everybody else, I got this. Y'all just step back and I've got this and I'll take care of it all. And I'm here to represent the team and I don't really need anybody else. No, that's foolish. I mean, come on. We all need one another. That's why Brother Friendly Muslim had mentioned. And I thank him for defending me on the fact that he's one of the people that has contacted me, sent me emails that I read through and I analyzed, and just like every other piece of information that I analyzed to prepare for that debate. And I've done this with many people. I've talked to Brother, numerous brothers. And I've explained to them what my position was, why I was arguing what I was arguing. And if you listen to the debate, the point that I made during the debate is exactly the point that I intended to make. For anyone who can look at things objectively and not be forced by being compelled by any particular group or any any school of thought or any or any other individual to believe a certain way and who can think independently for yourself. I didn't become a Muslim by what other people say. I've been a Muslim almost 30 years myself, and I accepted Islam based on what I read and what my thinking was, and asking Allah to guide me, right? And so I'm fully capable at almost 52 years old at this point to be able to think for myself and draw my conclusions. And that doesn't mean that I'm perfect by no means. Well, none of us are, but I'm able to think and fight my own battles, right? And so that's it, man. That's it. And so, Brother Omar, Brother Friendly Muslim, Brother Mustafa, thank you all for your kind words and your support. We should be encouraging and supporting one another.
Alhamdulillah, bro. I'm going to. I've got Brother Fuad's details. I do want to speak to him also because I do know the brother. And have a private conversation with him. So if he's listening, I've got your email, brother. I will email you in the next 5 minutes, and we'll set up a conversation. And again, I know both brothers. And as always, I would like that we have peace amongst each other. We try to resolve these issues. And sometimes first time round, there are some butting of heads and positions. But inshallah, may Allah make it easy for us, and we're able, with Ramadan coming up, that we are able to see the best in each other and work through these issues, inshallah.
Let me just clarify before you go.
Mm-hmm.
The main thing that he said that I'm offended by. Okay, and then I'll leave it at that. But the main thing that I'm offended by is the brother said that I was not prepared for the debate. When you spend all the time and the effort, the hours upon hours, reading, studying, and thinking, pondering, reflecting, writing, and contemplating, rehearsing your opening statements, when you're going through all of that, and then someone says, just on a whim, I don't think Brother Kenny came prepared. That is so offensive to me, and
no, brother,
may Allah give me patience, but I'm very offended by that.
I got you, brother, and I want to speak to him about those different comments, etc. So, let the friendly one have a friendly conversation, inshallah, and we can, work things out. But yeah, no, I can understand points where you were also, offended by things that were said, because at the end of the day, even with that, you're the one who's in charge of. Sorry, we're getting some feedback from somewhere.
Yeah, if anyone, I see Brother Soliman just joined the panel. Assalamu alaikum to you, brother. If anyone's watching on YouTube or anyone on the panel, that is, if you're watching on YouTube or any other source, please put that on mute because it'll feedback through the StreamYard platform. So, just want to mention it. I'm not sure where it's coming from, but
it's the brother. He just joined it.
Brother Soliman. Yeah, Brother Soliman, put your if you're watching on YouTube or wherever, please, inshallah, put that on mute, and then that should cut out the feedback.
Yeah, so as I was saying, but yeah, so
it's still there, brother. I'm gonna take you out, but then come back. Come back. So please come back, inshallah.
I think he's got a problem with audio because or lag something.
Yeah. So brother, hopefully.
Yeah. So as I was saying, but with that, obviously, obviously from the point of where you to say you're not prepared for something, and you haven't been a debater, etc., or you don't feel or know what points you were trying to make, etc. Again, so I can understand your points of view also on it also. Again, I'd like to obviously, because I know the brother from other places also. I want to speak to him also, and work out a few things. But inshallah, we'll be able to come to better terms. Inshallah.
All right, thank you, brother. May Allah bless you for your efforts and your intentions. Ameen. So, So, any other thoughts, gentlemen? Brother Mustafa?
I'm good, brother. I mean, I'm personally good. Brother Mustafa, we got any sort of final points, and we can, I think, just wrap up. We don't need to beat a dead horse as well.
Yeah. Let me see if
Yeah,
Brother Salim.
just to reiterate what I basically said. I mean, like I said, we've got to be very careful that we don't become a show amongst ourselves. Even though, as Brother Kenny quite justifiably had the stream on to make a point for those who are making an effort in the sake of Allah, encouragement is needed, and if there's any advice which is required, it could be done off screen. Just as Sister Hindsight mentioned earlier in the stream. I'm not sure if she's still listening on, but it could be off-putting for non-Muslims and a source of entertainment for Islamophobes as well. So that's basically all I really want to say. At the same time, encouraging brothers like Brother Kenny, who is making such efforts to promote Islam to the masses, and therefore we need to be as supportive as possible and give the encouragement which is there and necessary. I'm sure Brother Omar will concur with those points. We had a nice discussion on Brother Muhammad's channel a few weeks ago. The brothers from Coventry, same area as Brother Muhammad, and he's a revert to Islam. So we can all be there to encourage one another, inshallah.
Thank you, brother. May Allah bless you. Brother Omar, any final things before I bring in Brother Suleiman?
Oh, alhamdulillah.
Yeah,
Life is too short. Life is too short. We don't know, as you said. Today, are we going to see the end of the day? Are we going to see tomorrow? But we all answer for our wrongdoings, no matter how small, how big. Always remember to backbite somebody. Allahu Akbar. That is something so serious. Something so serious. But I'm only reiterating what everybody else has already said. Well, mashallah to the brothers.
May Allah bless you, brother.
For the knowledge that's being passed around. If we don't pass the knowledge around, what hope have our younger generations has got? And I'll leave it at that, inshallah.
That's right. May Allah bless you, brother. Thank you.
Okay.
Brother Suleiman. Walaikum salam, brother. Brother Suleiman, assalamu alaikum to you. How are you? Your audio is messed up. It sounds like the chipmunks. It's like it's the audio is messed up for some reason. Let me try it again. Go ahead. Yeah, no, it still sounds like the chipmunks. we can't understand what you're saying because it sounds like the chipmunks. Maybe try to go to settings and try to change your mic. Try to change your mic. I'm gonna put you on mute until you let me know whenever you try to change it, inshallah. You sound like the chipmunks. So yeah, we're not gonna be perfect. This is why we go constantly back to the prayer and ask Allah to guide us. And my personal prayer to Allah and every dua I make is for asking Allah to increase me in wisdom, patience, and knowledge, and help me to apply those things to my life. And this is it's an ongoing effort. I don't want to lose my temper, and I don't want to say something that's going to hurt someone, be offensive, and so forth. But I don't. Sometimes when you feel you're being attacked, you might get a bit defensive and say things that, Oh, that's way better.
Is it? Okay. Yeah, assalamu alaikum, brother. Yeah, no, I was just hearing your conversation initially, and just started tuning in, and then I just realized, what was actually happening. And it's very sad. It's very sad. I normally don't want to talk on this particular subject, but unfortunately, there is a lot of it out there, and it needs to kind of stop. It really does. Brothers really need to stop this. And, look, we all have our disagreements. Do I agree with everyone? No, but do I start posting it everywhere? Trying to basically defame, dename them. I just stay away. I just stay away. I think the thing is like, if you're a true Muslim, not that I'm saying I'm a true Muslim or anything like that. I'm not better than anybody. I'm nothing. But the main thing is like, there's a hadith, obviously. There's that hadith which basically by Prophet Rasulullah Sallam, he says, "He who believes in Allah on the last day must either speak good or remain silent." And that when you have these types of information, we should actually try to adhere to this. But the main thing is what I would say is, check our intention at the door. Why are we actually doing this? Sometimes our nafs really gets a hold of us, and then we try to basically win an argument, or like we don't like something. But why are you actually calling someone out, and in public as well? There's no need. There's just no need for it. I didn't think it was an appropriate thing for him to do, speak to you like that on the way he like trying to rebut you, and it was just like he was just trying to win an argument, and there's no need. And I'm just here for your support, because at the end of the day, look, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. Nobody. But the thing is, at least, like you said, you're in the front line. You're going out there. You're doing it. You know what I mean? You're trying. For the, you might get one thing wrong here and there, but why are you being so nitpicky? There's you really do need to analyze your nafs sometimes, because sometimes is it like, am I just doing it because I'm jealous? Because that's what sometimes happens. They might be thinking, oh, this guy's getting loads of views. He's a big shot now, or whatever it is. And then, you just don't like it because you might be feeling insecure about yourself, that you've not got to a level like yourself as such. But that's not what we do in this. We need to check our intentions on the door. You know what I mean? Whenever we're doing anything, because that's what we're going to be judged on at the end of the day. You might be doing a good deed, but you might be doing it for the nice feeling. You might not be doing it for Allah's sake. So all your deeds are going to become, void, more or less, because you're doing it for that feeling. You're not doing it for Allah's sake. So this is what whenever we do anything, like I said, I think we, like brother Friendly Muslim, he said, we've beaten it like a dead horse. But the thing is, the point needs to be drummed home, I think, because there's so much negativity, toxic behavior with our community. Seriously, even if I post a hadith or anything like that, like, oh, like, explain this, brother, or something like that. It's like constantly like misconstruing your point or anything like that. Why do we need to argue? What is this? I think people need to reflect on themselves. Usually but I understand your point of view as well for flipping out. I mean, you never flipped out, but what I mean is I understand your point of view sometimes is like your frustration. I'm just talking about it now because I've encountered this myself, and and it builds these small little drops of water build up, and then your cup is full, and then that's it. I've had enough, can't take this, and then you just go off. You just think, forget this. I don't even know why I'm even bothering. I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not earning any money. I'm not doing anything.
That's a crucial point. That's the point that I was trying to drive home earlier. Maybe I should have stressed it even more, in that it's discouraging. It makes someone feel that, man, I put forth this effort and I can't even get my Muslim brothers and sisters to support me. I mean, my goodness, I'm not. What am I? What is it? I'm doing my best, but I'm being criticized by people who they're over there. They're sitting on the sideline, and they're pointing a finger at me as though they can do better than I can, but they're not doing anything at all in the big picture. And that doesn't mean that I'm anything special. But it's like, man, you brothers know the people who are associated with the Consider This TV network, right? The whole purpose of it is to support each other, man. Support each other. That's all I've ever talked about. And it truly breaks my heart, man. I can deal with it from atheists. I can deal with it from Christians, non-Muslims, and so forth. But man, it's just something about when Muslims, when the attacks come from other Muslims, it's like, man, it just breaks my heart, man. And it does give you a sense to where, I've stopped doing as many live streams as I used to do, because I'm like, I need to step back from this, because it's starting to affect me to a point that it's discouraging and so forth. and I need to ponder and reflect on what is my objective. My objective has always been the same, so there's been no up and down about that. But I had to remind myself in that time, saying, you know what, let me step back and refocus on what my purpose is. My purpose is that I do not know when I'm going to die. And I want to die being and striving in the cause of Allah and trying to be the best Muslim that I could possibly be. And I personally feel like a better Muslim when I'm engaging in dawah. Engaging in the dawah makes me less of a hypocrite. Engaging in the dawah makes me less angry. And engaging in dawah makes me less fearful about what tomorrow brings. Engaging in dawah makes me more mindful of the fact that I'm not perfect and I need to continuously ask Allah for forgiveness. All these things are important, and Allah is going to judge us for our intention behind it. And, so when you have another Muslim who you would expect to be on that same page and realize the benefit that comes with encouraging one another, competing with one another as if in a race, doing what? Good, righteous deeds, right? Encouraging one another, not discouraging one another, not trying to leave them behind as though you're better. No, bring everyone along in the race. Let's finish this thing together, because on the day of judgment, we all want to be standing before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as al-mu'mineen, the true believers, following the path of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I want to be standing there beside the brother that was criticizing me earlier. I really do. I want the brother to be standing right beside me. Inshallah, maybe on the day of judgment, we'll be standing beside each other and we'll be smiling at one another and thinking, nothing but good thoughts, on that day, inshallah. And I pray that's what happens. May Allah make that happen, inshallah. May He have mercy on us. But it's just a constant. It's jihad, man. It's the whispering of the shaitan trying to discourage us and trying to stop Islam. And, it's just an ongoing battle. So I see someone by the name of Ang. I'm not sure who this is backstage, but if you have a camera, please turn your camera on, because we're a bit reluctant on Consider This TV network to bring people onto the streams that we're not familiar with without seeing who they are. So some of the brothers, like Brother Mustafa and so forth, we're familiar with certain brothers. No offense to you, but I don't know who you are. Let me see what's going on in the private chat. I don't know who you are. Now I'm gonna go ahead and bring you on. So I see Brother Mustafa's back over there as well. So I'm gonna bring on Ang. Assalamu alaikum to you, and also Brother Mustafa. Ang, assalamu alaikum. How are you?
Walaikum salam.
Let me make sure
Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
You're very faint. You're very faint, brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Oh, very faint. So maybe I'm going back to fix this, okay?
I can barely hear it.
Barely hear you.
So you might as well just you can say what you want to say.
Yeah, so he already left I didn't remove him. He just left the stream. But
well, maybe we should time to wrap up. We've covered everything really.
Yeah, I think so. And hey, listen, brothers, I appreciate you coming to the panel, and people in the chat. Assalamu alaikum. Let it be a learning experience for all of us. None of us are perfect. Don't mean to judge the brother for for what happened. Forgive the brother for the sake of Allah. And if I've hurt his feelings in some way, I ask him to forgive me as well. May Allah have mercy on us, and let it all be something that we all learn from. And we'll leave it at that, inshallah. So, brothers, thank you for coming once again, Brother Omar, Brother Friendly Muslim, Brother Mustafa, Brother Suleiman. Thank you all for your wise words and your words of advice and your thinking behind all of it. And so before we go, I do want to say I do bear witness once again that there's no other God other than Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is his final servant and the seal of all prophets. So we'll leave it at that. And make sure you hit subscribe, like, and share, and subscribe to all the channels on the Consider This TV network channel. Islam for All with Brother Suleiman, Coventry Faith Foundation with Brother Muhammad, O People of the Book with Brother Jamal, and my channel is Consider Islam Live with Kenny Bomer, and also Brother C.L. Edwards, Urban Muslim. Subscribe to all those channels, and if I'm missing someone, please forgive me. But we'll leave it at that. So again, assalamu alaikum, rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, alhamdulillah, rabbil alameen.